So dudes, a clip went viral on twitter.com, my favorite app. Just kidding. I hate it, but I'm addicted, so I can't quit. Before we get into the blah, 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 I have more blah, blah, blah. Here is this video's sponsor, guys. I want to talk to you about the Champion Roadmap. We're talking about a 6-week live coaching program comprised of over 50 hours of content. You are going to get group coaching calls daily, practice sessions daily, one-on-one sessions weekly, VOD reviews, strategic planning, and a lot of other benefits as well. Basically, what we're looking at is a 6-week live coaching program. You will get 50 hours of content for a price point of $149, which if you tally up the math for $3 an hour, that's pretty cool. Nobody else is really doing anything like this in the Siege space, and we think we have an opportunity to help people get a lot out of this game, a lot more out of this strategically rich and tactically rich game that doesn't have any kind of competition for what it is. And guys, the people that are working with this program, Champion Roadmap, are not full of it. We're talking about people with tons of experience, coaching people, years worth of Siege coaching experience. They back up what they're saying, and it makes sense. If all of that sounds interesting to you, go to the link in the description and then use my code Gregor at checkout. You will get the whole package for $149 straight up, no additional fees, no hidden fees, nothing like that. $149 straight up, and it gives you everything that we just talked about. So shout out to Coach P and shout out to the Champion Roadmap for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. Macy in spawn getting peaked a lot by people running out, continually peaking. We have called this, me and some of my comp friends, we have started calling this meta of the full court press meta. I don't know how much y'all know about basketball, but if you do know much about basketball, you'll probably feel the same way. Basically, this is the version of the game that we're at. Not necessarily because it's the best thing to do. Certainly, the people involved in this clip understand exactly what they're doing. I'm assuming that they know. Running outside, you got two people taking gunfights that they don't necessarily have to take because it's like fun, you know, LOL, you know, funny moment XD. I'm gonna take the fight because I'm just so good. I'm just that. I am the GOAT. Okay. And I really, in my heart of hearts, do not think that these guys could be that lacking in self-awareness to not understand that, like, you're at like a minute 47. You have a 4v1 situation. Is it a 4v1? Yeah, you're at a 4v1 situation. You don't need to be peeking this guy. Quite literally, he is at the edge of the map. He's at a part of the map that you can't even reach normally. You have to go backwards in order to do it. You're running outside. You have your location revealed. I could go on and on. Okay, whatever. But this tweet managed to go viral and it managed to start some controversy. It got some people kind of upset. And I'm really struggling. Why? Because Macy had some pushback to say in regards to this clip. And I agree with a number of different points in terms of the sentiment from where guys like Macy are coming from, because I've been playing the game since beta, and I remember when people, you know, glorified Siege as a slower, more deliberate, kind of thoughtful game. And now the game is slower. The animations are slower. The speed of it is slower from a gunfighting point of view. But the behaviors of taking the gunfights and just, you know, swing, bata swing, that's the meta. That's not just the meta in competitive, that's the meta in ranks, that's the meta in quick match. We have all of this, you know, really interesting stuff that we can play around with. We have all these interesting tools, but gamers will find the path to least resistance. And so this is where we are, and it's not even necessarily because it is the right thing to do. It's because it's the fun thing to do, and you might be able to just win based off of your raw gun talent anyway. And so this started some really interesting conversations, in my opinion, in terms of the way that we have been approaching the game and the way that we have been talking about it. because I think we've managed to forget how much more, how many more things, how many more mechanics we have in this game compared to other tax shooters on the market. And why is that? Why is it that the game, you know, we can't seem to stop talking about like how it's so bloated? There's so many characters, there's so many things going on, and people play like this. It has the same problem as another game that I tried to cover a long time ago, and this guy has something to say about overcomplicating your approach with a competitive shooter like Siege, which I thought was really funny.
Listen, there's a subsection of player base out there that thinks
for reference, he's talking about Valorant.
the game needs to be defined down to the fucking numbers, the analytics, pushing up my glasses. Oh, this lineup from this particular angle. Oh, this composition doesn't work in theory because this particular section of util. You're gonna get shot in the face. You're gonna lose the round. It's a gun game. It's an FPS. If you want that,
Thieves isn't shooting anyone.
that, play Overwatch. If you want that, play League of Legends. Play a different fucking game. This is Valorant, you motherfucker. You get shot, you die. You get shot, you die. You get shot, you lose the round. You lose the game. It's an FPS game.
Oh my god. So is that why 100 Thieves should not make a roster change?
It's like we are. How many characters do we have? I lost track. 64? 65? How many characters? Rainbow Six Siege character operators. Great typer. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's a lot. All these characters have unique abilities. Some of them, and most of them, have unique guns. All of them interface with the gameplay loop in their own strategic and interesting way. But the game also has one-shot headshot. The game has relatively precise gunplay, even, you know, compared to something like Valorant. Now, a lot of the arguments that I've seen about Valorant's gunplay are kind of misconstrued and misstated. Valorant's gunplay isn't as precise as CSGO, but it still relies on a significant amount of crosshair placement. It relies on a significant deal of good positioning and first shot accuracy. You can't mess up your initial spray. Whereas with Siege, you know, it's designed this way to duplicate a much more fluid, a much more one-to-one kind of gameplay flow. So that way the mechanics of it don't really like get in your way, right? As soon as your brain reacts to something, theoretically, oh, thank you for the sub, you should be able to react to it as well. And at the end of the day here, man, look, I think that anybody who is looking at this clip and saying that this is okay. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of the video. Anybody who's looking at this and saying that this is bad, like this is bad play on Macy's part, has no idea, no fucking clue what they are talking about. This is my litmus test. This is like my new Siege litmus test. If you look at this clip and you're like, I don't care about if you can say like, oh, well, why did he post it? Like, do you think it's like cringe that he posted it? You think it's weird? Like, okay, like it's ranked. Who cares? It's just people trolling in ranked, blah, 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 whatever. If you're looking at this and you're like, this is bad, you do not know what you are talking about. And this is where we're kind of getting with like Siege. This is where we're getting with this esports kind of focus, I think. And this is representative of a lot of conversations I think that we're having about the fixation that people have with competitive shooters and whether or not it's healthy. And the reason that I'm saying this is because if you are a competitive player, if you are a competitively minded Siege player, you are going to look at this and go, okay, work smarter, not harder. We have this weird kind of like honor system with FPS games that I'm starting to notice now a lot more, especially with younger kids, that, and this has always been true, but it's becoming a lot more prevalent, that anything going on in here is like, it's almost like I want some of these kids to just go right out and just say what they really think. I want them to say brain crutch, because that's what it feels like when we talk about this shit. It really feels like some of these kids want to say brain crutch. Imagine using your brain. Imagine making it easier to win the gunfight with positioning and timing instead of making it more difficult for yourself. Like this is the phenomenon that you find when you're in like you're like spectating somebody in a 1v3, and instead of just going for like the simple boring looking play that gives them a free pick, they start like movement spamming and doing all this like dumb like unnecessary movement tech and like moving their crosshair around, and it's like that's not skillful. That's not skill. That is the equivalent of, like in fighting, like in boxing, when a guy's like, you know, like teasing and doing like there's like a methodology to the whole idea of like feinting out the opponent and stances and stuff like that. But if the guy's just like, if he keeps going like this, if he keeps going back and forth like that, if he keeps like showboating, that's not indicative of skill level. That's just showboating. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't box. But it's like, dude, we are so like disconnected from the kinetic side of FPS games and the side of the FPS game where you're leveraging your game knowledge to put yourself in positions to make better plays and make better decisions. And that's really like at its highest level, even the most competitively minded players, even the most like Bolo, you could say, like brain dead Bolo, which is an oxymoron. Bolo is anything but a brain dead player. In fact, half of the reason that Bolo was able to hit the shots that he did and does, half of the reason that Spoit is able to hit the shots that he does is because he's a very smart player, because they're very smart players, because they know where to put themselves. They know how to capitalize on situations that allow them to take those engagements and win those engagements. Right? So it's not one or the other. Like, I think people need to take a step back and understand that like Rainbow Six Siege is a very it's dual parts kinetic and strategically mindful. But at the end of the day, as long as one of these is the path of least resistance, when you're playing freaking ranked, like, yeah, no shit, people are going to do this, and then you're going to get like a free pick out of it. Doesn't make Macy bad because he's playing to like, if he's playing to win in this situation, then you just play to the strengths of your character and you play to the weaknesses of your opponent. If your opponent is presenting a weakness, then you capitalize on it. I mean, like, it's not that fucking deep. It really isn't that deep. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating being a competitive shooter fan in 2023 because there's no winning. There's no winning. Like, if you win the round a boring way, then you're bad. If you don't win the round and you have good mechanical skill and, you know, you had circumstances that happened that were outside of your control, you're you're still bad because you couldn't win the gunfights. And it's just, there's no fucking middle ground anymore. There's no like reasonable, oh, okay, that was a cool play. And nobody wants to be good at video games anymore except the people who posture in this scene, who think of mechanical skill as some kind of like bragging right. And most of these guys are gonna, you know, they're gonna find out really quick that the game has a lot more involved than just that. So there is a lot of validity to saying that, like, if you can't win your gunfights, like, and like, duh, it's a shooter game. But you also have to think about what you're doing to put yourself in those positions in order to get the gunfights won in the first place. And a lot of it has to do with game knowledge, positioning, planning, timings, communication. There's so many freaking things involved in being a good Siege player that have nothing to do with mechanics. Nothing to do with mechanics. You can be really good mechanically, and that can elevate you a substantial degree. But if you just have mechanics and you don't have anything else, then like you're not going to get anywhere with it, and vice versa, right? Like it's not a one size fits all approach. You have to have a holistic kind of relationship with this game as a sport if you're trying to like really get up to these ranks at like champion rank and, you know, yada 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 if you want to play comp. Another clip that I saw not too long ago that was just really strange. This BattleBit clip. This guy who's a Valorant pro. Blue collar workers, BattleBit. If I can find it. Yeah. Everybody, like, this clip this is not anything particularly crazy, right? Like, he is very mechanically skilled because this person is a retired professional Valorant player. So this person has a lot of fundamentals. This person has a lot of fundamental FPS knowledge. This person understands positioning, when to swing, when not to swing, when to get into cover. He has very good awareness. He has very good crosshair placement. And he also just has good mechanics, and he can, move his mouse around a lot more quickly than these guys can because he has more experience with the mouse and keyboard setting, and he is more like neurologically linked. He's more neurologically in sync with his setup because it's like an extension of his body. See, right? Like, this is why like guys have these. This is why they have these hand cams for the streams, because it's kind of like impressive to see. But at the end of the day, like, it just comes down to practice, right? Like, he is able to do this kind of crap because he just plays the game a lot. And so, like, what are you going to do? It's, I hate people that, play esports. Esports are ruining games. What is bro going to do? Is he just going to not have good mechanics? Is he just not going to have good positioning or fundamentals? Like, what do you want? And more importantly, like, you're not going to run into this person a lot. Like, very, very little. And I don't know. There's no... I'm just talking about this because I think that clip and this clip signify so much of what's going on with, like, competitive shooters in 2023, just any shooter game in 2023 at all, because we're starting to realize, like, hey, Counter-Strike is a massive game, and everybody wanted to capitalize on the esports, centric kind of feel of, like, pushing the boundary of where, like, FPS games were going. And now it looks like we're just going to take a back seat because we're going to spend too much time arguing with this guy, and we're going to spend time arguing with this guy because he's a try-hard sweat, and he needs to stop being good at the video game because he shoots really good. And Macy J is a casual noob who can't win a gunfight, and that's why he uses his brain. He is a brain crutch. What the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, we've lost the ability to think critically in FPS games. We do not engage in these conversations in a way that is logical or makes sense. Like, everyone is just everyone is butthurt. Everybody is mad. Everybody is posturing. Everybody just wants to get in on the conversation and leverage how much more awesome they are because of their relationship with the video game than this other person. And I can't do it anymore. Like, it's so silly. And I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, like, Siege is a very tactically and strategically rich game, and it needs to combine these two elements. And this is something that Macy has said before, right? Like, it needs the kinetic gunfighting, it needs the strategic planning and depth. When those two things go together, that's how you get Rainbow Six Siege. There's not a single tac shooter on it like, there's not a single tac shooter on the market like Rainbow Six Siege for those reasons. And look, man, if this wins you a game of ranked, it's ranked. There's no money on the line. There's no this guy knows what's going on. He's just like, the guys are common, like, peek him, swing him again. No, dude. Oh my God, dude, defuse. Dude, defuse. Yo, no shit, no shot. Like, I can already hear the comms. Like, they're fucking around. I'm sure they're just fucking around. It's not like, get a grip. Like, come on, what are we doing here? I don't know. That's my rant about shooter games and competitive stuff. Figure it out. Like, do you want to, like, do you find winning fun? Like, if you find winning fun, that's okay. If you just want to play the game and fuck around, that's okay. If you just want to, like, if you want to go in a competitive, that's okay. If you don't want to go in a competitive, that's okay. There's no right way to motivate you to play the game. If you don't like the game, just don't play it. Bingo. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? I think that Siege sucks because they slowed it down and ruined it for Pro League at the same time. They made it so that I could shoot better, which ruined it for Pro League. I can't. I never change. Siege community never change. I love you guys. Thanks for watching what I have to say, and I'll catch you all on the flippity flip. Deuces.